I don't know if sunrises or sunsets are my favorite time of day, but I'm in my happy place right now. I love mornings. I'm about to go to a VIP for the weekend, a PSI VIP with a client who's actually driving across the country. And it just turned out perfectly that he could stop through North Carolina. So I got him all set up in his cabin last night. We made dinner together. We talked about what's important. The program, the unhealthy program that he is so committed to integrating this weekend. He's done so much work. He's a coach like me. She's friggin' phenomenal to work with someone. Like, I can literally feel the energy of when I work with someone, how it goes through them to all the people that they touch and are going to touch. It reminds me of the podcast with Amanda, who is just beginning her journey of getting certified to begin leading people through their psychedelic integration. And I really have been encouraging her to get certified in the PSI model, which I'm so grateful to have experienced. Like, it has been the key for me. Not that everything else I've done hasn't supported me 100 million gazillion %. There's just one, I guess, piece that the way in which the medicine is used to stay in the body and feel, not leave, that has been the key to integrate these programs in my body. Like, I never used to get that the reason why it's body, mind, spirit, or body, mind, soul, is because all these three elements need to be integrated. And that was the last piece. Like, I love my body, I exercise my body, I listen to my body, but I didn't totally surrender to my body and allow it, through allowance of feeling, to be able to take me all the way home. I didn't learn how to, one of my teachers calls it stress tolerance, this ability to be safe in our bodies while we feel emotions. I would abort. I would have a glass of wine. I would go on social media. I would disassociate. It was just too friggin' much. I had to build the muscle of being able to feel intense stress, intense emotions, and stay in my body and trust my body. That as I allowed it, it would come all the way back. And frankly, I don't know if I could do it by myself. I don't think so. I think it was definitely my facilitators that said, take me with you. I'm right here. As I felt through the most horrific things. And that is what I get to do this weekend with this client. That's actually what I've done with Amanda, whose podcast you're about to hear. And that's why I know this is the next step on her journey, is to be able to stay in her body and feel. And she didn't like it. Nobody likes it. Oh, but on the other side, the home, the wellness, and the ability in life to not get triggered anymore. Like, anybody can meditate, feel good, and then come back to life, and life still triggers you. But what if you can go through life and life doesn't trigger you? And you can make discerning choices. You can hear your awareness in the face of stress. Like, that's what we need to be able to get through these difficult times. So as you listen to this interview, you will see the beautiful progression of this woman's journey. And I look forward to continuing to support her in integrating these programs that push away the very love and intimacy she desires, because the program is just created to keep her safe, but it often keeps her alone or attracting people that don't honor her, don't support her. And so a little bit of my mama bear is here as she continues to engage with a past client of mine. The whole community is like mother bear, father bear. We're all very, very protective of her. We want to be sure that she is honored. So I really look forward to, maybe by the end of this, you'll hear the podcast and I'll do the little outro at the end. I'll have a little more of an update of how that weekend went with the gentleman returning. Because I'm really committed that everyone I have the blessing and privilege of working with integrates programs that create suffering and pain, loneliness and heartache, and become someone to savor soul-shaking, intimate connection for the long term that grows that's not just sustainable, but that it grows and evolves over time. It's our freaking birthright. So enjoy this podcast. Welcome to Intimate Conversations, Soul Medicine. Intimacy is an inside job. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations. Here we are, season 11, Soul Medicine, with one of my soul sisters, as we begin to talk about power and our soul's purpose and our sexy confidence. And we were having a little chit chat before this recording. This is the amazing Amanda Ray. She's clearly gorgeous. No, she's not in a TV set, although she looks like it. She's an incredible designer of her beautiful home. She's been a cherished client over the last couple of years. Sweetheart, you go deep. You show up all the time. You do your work. I remember the first time I met you when you came to the retreat and you were sitting there in the lobby and you're like, yeah, I flew here. And I figured, oh, she just flew on an airplane here. No, she flew her own helicopter. She flies helicopters. She's a pilot. I'm like, what the fuck? And then you're like a gourmet, trained chef. Like you're highly accomplished, so generous with your sister, your family, only to find out you were in a difficult relationship. And hopefully you found it safe to be with me on this journey because of my difficult relationships, never judged. And I'm really excited to share with people your journey of doing this work with me, how you've stepped into your own power with your certifications and in psychedelic medicine and moving into this coaching space to be there for others to get through their traumas like you have so bravely gotten through. So there's no real right or wrong way to have this conversation except for us just to laugh and swear and cry and be ourselves and share the journey. I just want to say what an honor, deep privilege it is to work with you, because you are the real thing. You're extraordinary. And I love you with all of my heart. And you're fucking funny. So I just love all the way your comedic relief every single coaching call. And the blessing you are to the community and how you truly deepen and like roots and shoots, you deepen and lift everybody. You're deeply loved by everyone. So hi.
Thank you. That was amazing.
So I don't even remember how you found me. How did you even find me in the first place?
You did, there was a woman doing an interview series and she was doing like a different interview person like for 21 days. And you were one of the days that came through the email. And after I heard your interview, I looked more into who you were and I pretty much signed up booking with you like instantly. Like I hadn't really followed you on social media or anything. I didn't take my time. I booked a booking call with you and I was like, all right, I'm in, I'm doing it.
Here we go.
Like instant.
What do you think that instant knowing is about for you anyways? Why did you just instantly know? And trust me, you'd have to trust me if you instantly said yes.
Well, and that's the thing is that's not something that had ever really happened to me very much before. Usually I was always very methodical. I would take my time thinking about things, really pull it over and decide. And, back in that time, I was in a very difficult place.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I can really say is that my soul's knowing was just like, all right, here's the next place to go. And let's just go here. Let's trust this. Let's see what happens.
It's really wild because there's ways we be, I be, you be, we be, where we're in our head, we're double checking, we're strategizing all of it. And then there's this way that we come into alignment, we sort of clunk in. And it's like heart, solar plexus, belly, pussy, hips. Like we're just, and I've never been in a helicopter with you. I think that would be fun to do one day. But I imagine when you're flying, it has to be the same way. You can't all be like doubtful, freaking out in your head. You're going to probably crash. Like you have to just know what you know. So you've touched that place in various aspects of your world. And we just worked on finding that place when it came to your self-love and self-respect and dropping into the old patterns of relationship that we needed to heal so that you could let go of wasn't working and step into what does work. So I'm glad that my energy could invite that clunk of knowing. So what was it like? So can we talk about like the relationship that's been going on off and on in the last 2 years as well? Is that on the table, off the table? I didn't even ask you that before we started talking.
I think, with you, everything's on the table.
Well, for me it is, but I'm honoring you. You are my guest. So yeah, you interview me. And of course, we're going to talk about vaginas and everything we want to talk about. Okay. So what happens sometimes at these retreats, it's not like an every time thing, but almost an every time thing. Soulmates find each other because I'm a vibration and I attract my soul tribe. And if it's meant to be, people find each other. And this soulmate, whole mate relationship, sometimes it's for a short period of time. Sometimes it's for a long period of time. Sometimes it's, a bumpy road, what have you, but it's always for the best. It's always for growth. It's always for evolution. So, to the degree you'd like to share, what happened and why was that for you when you met you-know-who?
Well, it was just an instant attraction. So I think there was some kind of soul knowing there of that something was there. And I think part of my old pattern was like, oh my God, I love him. I'm gonna spend my life with him. This is everything I've been looking for. This is a very graspy and needy and like
damsel in distress, old pattern. Yeah.
And
I know it well.
So because of that, I don't think it was able to last very long. It ended up being a couple months and it was absolutely heartbreaking, devastating. I went through 6 months of doing my work and really trying to kind of right my ship again and get to a good place. And finally got to a really good place within myself, was able to move, like literally move on with my life. And
yeah,
thanks to you, we reconnected again because we both were just in different places and started off really great again, thinking, all right, this is what I'm doing. This is where this is going. This is my life. And lasted for a few months before, in your words, we just triggered the shit out of each other and went our own separate ways again. And again, that was very, very heartbreaking, very devastating, very hard to deal with. But all of the triggering of those wounds, like I feel like for me, I get to see the deepest parts of myself in relationship with others. So having that reflection of another person showing me where I need to be working on stuff.
Yeah.
And so everything that every time he'd come and rip a Band-Aid off, I wasn't trying to go and put a new Band-Aid on it. It was like, oh, there's a wound there. Like
let's address that.
What do I need to look at there? What kind of attention does it need? What kind of love does it need? What kind of healing does it need? And not, continuing to suppress these parts of me that were saying like, hey, you've been ignoring us. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want you to accept us back into the whole of Amanda.
Yeah.
And so it was, as much as it has been an extremely painful journey of knowing him and having spent time with him, it's also been one of the most healing experiences of my life because I've been able to go into these deepest parts of myself. And even, the last time we broke up, I went and found the deepest parts of wounds that I had that I didn't even know were in there.
Yeah.
And, I do a lot of work with psychedelics and plant medicines, and even working in those realms weren't showing me these parts of myself.
Yeah.
Through him and through the relationship, I was able to see a lot of these deeper parts of myself. And it just, it's like I've just continued on this super deep healing journey this year and for a few years, but this year alone has been extremely healing. And, it remains to be seen where that goes because we have since reconnected again. We've both gone our separate ways and done tremendous work on ourselves.
Yeah.
I think that it was all stuff that needed, as much as like the times that we spent apart and it was so painful for me, it was like, why can't we do this together? Like, why can't we hold each other's hands through this and get through this together?
Yeah.
The benefit of hindsight is magical. And so it's like, you can look back and be like, well, but I wouldn't have done that or this had I been with him in that time.
Yeah.
And I needed to have done these things. I needed to go through this order to get where I am now, to get who I am now. And so, it's as much as it's hurt. And I mean, just to throw in there, I'm not like interested in this guy that's just been painful. There's been a lot of really good stuff too. I mean, we have like such an amazing time together. We laugh together. We get along so well. Like
Yeah.
there's so much that's amazing that makes me want to
Yes.
do that. But the parts that were wounded in each other, that we showed each other,
Yeah.
were painful and difficult to endure.
Yeah. It's been such a, thank you. It's been such a blessing, gift, and privilege and honor to walk with both of you. And in the beginning, both of you were coaching with me, and then he stopped coaching and did some coaching with other people. And I'm curious whether he'll come back again. But it's been wonderful to hold space like with dyads. So there's different protocols that I've gone through with each of you separately. There's the group coaching, there's the retreats, and these wonderful dyads that I was able to facilitate. And so for those of you that don't know what I'm referring to, a dyad is basically, you go back and forth and somebody asks the question, the other one answers, and then all you say in response is thank you. And we're seeking understanding. We're not seeking to be right or win or dominate the conversation or lead it or direct it or blame or anything. We just are seeking understanding. And I think the safety of that structure for both of you helped get to the core root of what was going on with each of you, rather than staying in the battle up on top, where the wounds were being triggered. I think that is one of the structures that supported you navigating this. What else do you think that you've learned in the work we've done together that helped you navigate either when you were with him or when you were broken up periods of time? What have been some of the tools that have been most helpful?
Well, going back a little bit just to the dyad structure, I mean, I think one thing I really like about that is that you are just, it is a practice in just listening,
Yeah.
and you're in your head thinking about like, okay, what am I going to say next? Because for me, that gets me out of actually listening to the other. And so I think that is like a really helpful way to have healthy communication in a relationship. But I think too, it's like just being involved in the community. We are on weekly group calls with each other, and I have private calls with you, and just being in the community with others, and the way that we can see how everybody's going through everything. It's at the end of every call, we always say, what did we get, this time, or what are we grateful for this time? And it's like, there's always little nuggets that we just take with us. And I mean, staying in the container with you for the last couple of years, there's just continually more and more and more.
Yeah, that's unfolding. It's so good. I really respect when you take your time apart with this gentleman. You really engage in life. Like you really feel, not like, oh, well, maybe, I sure hope, like you actually cut the cord, burn the bridge, are completely present, rip your heart open. And here you are, like, oh, there's another heart underneath here. Wow, I never knew that. Like I so respect the depth of work that you do, and you don't half-ass it ever. I so respect, even when you left the relationship prior to him, that you felt through everything before you actually left. So the leaving, while it wasn't maybe a walk in the park, wasn't as devastating as it might have already been. You've become so alive. Like you're so gorgeous. And I'm like, how does she get more gorgeous? There's just more radiance and freedom of expression, and your sensuality and your sexuality. And you're like, we both are going through the well fuck woman right now. Like we're texting like, no vibrators. This is not okay. We just have so much fun in our shit as we grow. I really, really respect that about you. Anything you want to say about that? Because I have a question I want to ask you in a second.
I want another.
You want another question? So I respect that we both honor plant medicine as a tool to get us out of our head into our feelings, our body, and integrate these traumas that are basically blind spots. And I love that I've been able to do a version of using plant medicine that I've been doing for a year and a half, PSI, psychedelic somatic integration. And I found it really fascinating. And I'd like your sharing, because this has become my newest happy place to do VIPs with people using, we call it PSI modality. We went into this session, And you're like, no, I got to get through the turbulence. I got to get beyond it. And my training, because I did psychedelics for the last 20, 25 years, and I would leave my body and go way out into tier 3. Oh my God, thank God. I'm one with all. I know the truth. Everything's fine. Everything's according to, like, everything is like, there's just no problem out there. But then I would come back into my body and I would still attract the same wound, man after man after man. It didn't change my life. I had a greater spiritual connection. I had a greater knowing of who I am and what I'm made of and how I interact with the universe, but I couldn't make it shift the way I was interacting intimately or professionally. I would even attract crazy ass investors that would take all my money. So it could be either way. I couldn't resolve it until I did this form of using the medicine where we stay in the body sensation, emotion. Let's allow that. Let's not resist that and stay in there. Way harder than leaving, which not to say like ayahuasca is a walk in the park, but this way of doing medicine, when we did our session, my experience was that you worked through the turbulence in your body. You didn't work through it and leave. You worked through it and stayed. You worked through it and got home. You worked through it. And at the end, it wasn't like this euphoric oneness with all in the universe when you leave. It was a calmness and a secure attachment to self in a way that I hadn't seen in you yet. And I'm very curious your experience. Take as long as you want, because to me, that was a very profound experience for you.
Well, and I went into the session just with everything that I have been healing and working on this year, really wanting to work on the anxious attachment style.
Yeah.
Like, where did that come from? How can I deal with it? How can I, because it was making my life not very fun and enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, tell them 1 second. How was it? What was actually going on in your life that wasn't enjoyable, that you wanted to be done with?
The anxious attachment.
Yeah. Like, what does that really look like in a day-to-day? Like thinking about people all the time, not being like, what is it like for you?
Yeah, it's pretty miserable because I mean, and to me, I don't know how well those go together with like codependency, but to me, I kind of marry them like a lot, those kind of two things. And so it really just leaves me in this like waiting period. Like I'm in a waiting room. Like I'm just waiting. Like I'm waiting for, and it's usually always surrounding a guy. There's always a guy like that. I'm just waiting for the guy. When is he going to call? When is he going to text? When am I going to see him? When he's going to make the effort? Instead of being secure in me and who I am and my body and what am I doing? What's important to me? What are my self-care practices? What are my lifestyle practices? What am I going to do? Like, a lot of times living, 20 something years in that kind of state,
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to this workout class or I wouldn't sign up and do this other thing because it would be like, well, that's usually the time when I might hear from him. So I'm going to like not do for me because I want to be willing and available for him when he's available. So I won't do for me. And so that's why I said it's like a waiting room. Like, it's just like, I'm just, and not just taking care of myself and making myself a priority. And I think a lot this year was trying to really cultivate that relationship with myself. Like, this is the first year in a really long time living on my own, being on my own. And so it's really like this, like, hey, hi, like getting to know me. Like, who are you? What do you like? What do you want to do? What do you want your days to be structured? Like, what do things look like for you? What kind of activities and hobbies and friends do you like and do you have? And so a lot of that like self-discovery stuff, which gets hard to focus on when I'm just like, okay, when's the next guy coming along? When's the next guy that's going to give me the love, give me the attention, give me, all of these things. And so then I'm seeking them from the outside in instead of sourcing from the inside, and having that be just who I am, having it be just a whole complete person on my own. So in summary, it fucking sucks.
Yeah, it does fucking suck. And so that's what we brought into that particular PSI session. And do you remember the feelings we had to meet and integrate and allow on the pathway home to wholeness and secure attachment.
What I remember the most, which was surprising, and I felt like we kind of kept coming back to sadness, loneliness. And that was like surprising for me because it's like I've done a lot of work on healing depression. I feel like I've come out of depression. I feel like I've been able to handle the ups and downs of all these things we've been talking about with healthy range of emotion versus just sinking into depression, which is like, earth is hell. I don't want to live here. I don't want to live. Yeah. So I've been able to stay in this more like healthy range of emotions. But, and so I felt like I wasn't sad. You know, I felt like I'm really good. I've got on my own 2 feet. I'm living in a great place. I've got my dogs. I'm super happy. Like I'm living my life the way I want. And so when we went in and kept finding these deeper places of like sadness, like it just kept coming back to like, it's just so sad in here. Like when we went in here, it was like, it's just so sad in here. And I was just so surprised that it kept kind of coming back to so much sadness because I think that I was just wanting to not acknowledge like that part of me and the loneliness too. I was like, I'm not lonely. Like I've got friends, I've got family. Again, I got my dogs. Like I've got this life. Like I'm alone, but I'm not lonely.
Yeah.
But when you get into the deeper stuff and you find that pocket of loneliness, it's like, okay, I wasn't acknowledging that. I wasn't giving those parts of me airtime. I wasn't saying, because I was trying to suppress them. Like, no, I'm not sad. I'm not lonely. I'm not those things. I'm happy. Good. Like, and I didn't think that I was bypassing or not feeling those things. But it's like, I think I wanted to just be like, no, like things are good now. I have done so much work and I have gone through so much. But there was those deeper layers of sadness and loneliness that I don't think had ever really been seen.
Yeah. Or felt all the way through. And I really acknowledge you because you have done a shitload of work. And I don't think you were consciously choosing to spiritually bypass. But there were the darkness when you first came to work with me, you had reached really, really dark places. And so I don't think you ever wanted to go there again. So I think as you went anywhere near sadness, loneliness, depression, you're like, nope, we're going to focus on the good. We're going to do this, which is a healthier way to be than take yourself out of life. So I want to just first give you compassion that what you were trying to resolve to the best of your ability was not going to that dark place again. Okay. What I've discovered is the source of the dark place needs to be felt all the way home in our body, not in the top of the iceberg, just a better attitude, better practices, better whatever, or even going to the light, going on the medicine, going to God, going to oneness. Like we can try so hard to do the right thing and be happy and be positive and do our journeys and be one with that. It makes actually the dark grow. And the dark isn't, we're not aware of it with our mind. It's the iceberg under the water. It's this huge iceberg under the water in our body. And the only reason I knew it was still in there is because you were still anxious that he hadn't texted. Right? You were still waiting for the guy. Your behaviors were showing me, no, there's still something in there. Otherwise you wouldn't be doing this. You wouldn't be doing codependent if you were home and aligned. So there has to be something in there. And so as we went in, this has been my experience because I've done exactly the same thing, honey, exactly the same thing for 20 years, more courses and more medicine and more empowerment and more service to humanity and all the while I knew I couldn't rest. That was my indication. When I really calmed down to rest, sad, lonely for you, terrified for me. I couldn't just fucking be. So I knew there was something in there, but I didn't know what to do about it until I found this most recent use of medicine, the protocol that Saj Razvi of Psychedelic Somatic Institute and others have found is that we can help our autonomic nervous system go from that. For me and you, we disassociate, we leave. It's just too much. And we just have a good attitude, but we're kind of like happy numb. And then when we come back in, the first place we hit are these really suicidal, depressed, lonely, sad, like who wants to hang out there? And so because I love you and I'm with you and this is the way we do it, I'm right with you. Take me there. Take me into the darkness with you. Let's allow this. Let's not resist this. And our actual body, not our mind, not our strategy, not our surrender. We went several times through these waves of loneliness and sadness and sobbing. And you felt what I believe you didn't have the structure. So me, the facilitator, the medicine and the protocol, knowing from the science, we're going to get home. Trust body. The body knows what it's doing. We're not just feeling this to re-traumatize you. We're feeling this because we know the body will bring you home. And so then finish the story as we felt through many hours of horrendous loneliness and sadness. And you experienced, I'm not alone in this. I have a facilitator that loves me in this. My body knows what it's doing. I can get through this. I am brave. I can feel my way through this. What did you experience by the end of anything about the middle of the session you want to share, but then by the end, what happened?
I mean, by the end, I feel like we just got to this place where I was just feeling really calm. I mean, it felt like, I mean, you mentioned, all the sobbing, like kind of getting all of that out.
Yeah.
And getting to this kind of more serene, calm place at the end, just felt like just released a lot of that stuff that was in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we can do calm when we leave our body and we're out in the midst of everywhere, right? But that's not the skill we need when we're having a conversation with our beloved and they're triggering us and we want to stay in our body, calm, heart open, connected, intimacy, transparency, vulnerability, right? If we can't be with that in our body and they do something, we leave. We abort the conversation. We literally leave our body or we leave the room, etc. So explain the difference of this kind of calm, secure home within yourself that you got to within you and what's possible. Is it the dogs? They're allowed in. They can come in. We can say hi. I love your dogs. You know that. Don't worry if you want to have them on camera. It's totally fine.
I have plenty of treats ready to try and keep them occupied. So there's a little treat thing going on.
I think you should just have them both in your lap while we continue the interview, and I would love it. So don't even worry. Just be Amanda. Yeah, give us more of this embodied home calm thing that you experience, secure attachment to you.
I mean, just in like how I feel in life now with that.
Yeah, like what happened in the moment and how is that translated into what are you noticing differently in life that you can do, experience that you couldn't before because you've got this new place of calm home in your body, not calmness out of your body.
I mean, I feel like I just now can operate from a place of more presence and being in the moment and I keep saying, being in the body. Because I think before a lot of the time it was dissociating and either going to places in the past that weren't helpful in any way, not like in any way of like working through them in a healthful way because didn't have just it was more like ruminating on horrible past stuff, healthfully like working through it, or dissociating to like a fantasy future that may or may not ever happen. That's like a lot of what I've done is dissociate from the present moment by fantasizing about like, oh, well, what could be, and like playing out like just a fantasy life. And now it's like I do feel like being present and being more calm and not being in that anxious attachment style. Like I mean, I think I'm still going to have stuff to work. I don't think you heal anxious attachment like that. Like there's probably still stuff that I'm going to need to work through on that. But I feel like I can just turn the focus back to me when I need to and really start doing a lot of things I mentioned, early in the call of like, who am I and what's my relationship with me and what am I going to do? And being able to just kind of live my life the way I want to. Do the when I want. Like if I'm going to go take the dogs for a walk for an hour, that's what I'm going to do. And I can be there with it And if I want to go to dance class, I'm going to go to dance class. Or if I want to go to, the gym class, like I can just be more.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
just this other like clutter.
Mm. Yeah.
around.
Noise. Yeah. I've watched you. Remember how we said, I don't do one of those calls? And like, I've seen you adulting more.
Oh
Like I've,
yes.
like I've seen you follow through with things you'd normally disassociate and just get yourself busy with something else. Like even like the course that you're in right now, the psychedelic training that you're in, like you're booking your calls, you're doing your sessions, you're handling your bills, you're speaking up in relationship. You're saying, hey, maybe I could try this out for a bit. No, actually, that's not true for me. Actually, I am reconsidering about being a mother or not being a mother. Like there's these big adult things that you're actually, my experience is that you're being with it. You're living your truth. You're speaking your truth. You're sitting in the fire. You're opening your heart. You're not skedaddling. It's very inspiring. Do you feel that?
Well, and all of the things you just mentioned are like monumental. Like I finally went through the stack of mail that had been here since I moved in, and it's like I had to work myself up to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really long time. And even yeah, it's like with the psychedelic course and like actually getting things scheduled and
Yep.
following through, because at the second retreat that of yours that we went to, I got called out of hiding behind, I don't know how to do that.
Right.
And that was something I hid behind so long, of just saying like, well, I don't know how to do that, so I'm not going to do it. And I think that it's very easy for me to like go through like the kind of course that I'm in right now and be like, well, I don't know how to work with clients or schedule clients. So I'll just say that, I took this course and I got all the information out of it, but I don't need the certification. Like I'll let it go because I don't know how to do that. But it's
Right.
like, I'm actually following through with the adult
Yeah.
thing that I need to be doing. And
Yeah.
it's monumental.
No, I mean, it is monumental. And the same with me. I couldn't calm down and just be. I couldn't calm down. Like, this is kind of silly, but I couldn't, like, if a box came and I bought a new lamp, like sitting down and getting the what to do and getting the tool and putting like that would stress the fuck out of me because it would trigger. I don't know what the outcome's going to be. And I might make a mistake and I might get abused. Like it's way deeply wound, very simple things that are very easy just to handle. I would resist them all until I started to do this work and I could be in my body and stay present. And any sign that was the slightest that triggers the wound, I would exit. And I'm not doing that anymore. And so I'm making better decisions financially. I'm making better decisions with money and better decisions with my business, better decisions with what client to even ask. Like I wouldn't even ask myself whether I want someone to renew or not. Like I would never say, is that client renewing a contribution to the community? I would just keep hustling. Oh yes, we've got to renew everybody and close more. Like I was just this runaway train, just generating and paying and never going, whoa, what works for me, my vision, my business. And thus I couldn't receive very well. I couldn't receive because I was giving all the time. What have you begun receiving because you're more in your body than ever, more able to be? What have you noticed?
Well, when it comes to receiving, I still really like on one of our group calls that we did a few months ago, where you talked about having the capacity to receive.
Yeah.
And so that's been really big. And it's just because I think a lot of times when we want something, we can say, oh, I want that, but like, we block, like, but I don't deserve it, or I'm not
Right.
worthy. And so clearing all of that to even just have the capacity to receive. And a lot of that for me, a lot of the receiving comes down to the self-worth and the self-love and the self-value and feeling like I'm enough.
Yeah.
So I've been working, on all of those things and feeling that, so that I have the capacity to receive in that way. And I've been working too a lot on just, it's like being more in a healthy feminine, and like the healthy feminine is more of that like receiving and allowing and flowing and being fluid.
Mm.
And so I've been just trying to stay in that place. And I mean, I've got a lot of things in the works around here, so we'll see how they all play out.
Yeah. Well, it's a work in progress, right? You know, we're not going to get there overnight, but I really respect that you keep doing the work and you keep showing up, and that you now have round 3, maybe third time's the charm, with this gentleman coming back, both having done deep work. And I'd say, you know, you've got the dyad structure, you've got how to integrate your own feelings and stay in your body with the PSI work. You've got your life moving forward with getting trained to do this incredible work with others. You've got your stack of bills that you've gone through, and you're all getting more organized. Like you're more and more stepping into your queen, which would more and more invite a king that you choose, you don't need. And you're more and more able to let go of all that outside that you need to happen to be more calm on the inside. And I really respect you. I adore you. I adore you and the community. The community is absolutely better because of you. I don't know if attached is the right word. I really hope it all works out, if he's meant to be the one. And if it's yet another triggering of another shadow, another blind spot, thank you. Because one thing I know about you is you always do your work, and I respect that about you deeply. And I love you both, and I want the highest for you both. So as we begin to conclude, what would you say to someone who's been listening to this interview? It's all right. They can come in and so totally fine. What would you say to someone? Like, you knew right away, oh, let's do this work. She's my person. Let's coach together. What would you say to someone who is maybe not as certain? What can they look forward to working with me, being in the community, the different aspects we do, private group, retreat, PSI, all the things? What would you say to them?
I mean, if somebody's been thinking about it, I'd say, go for it. What do you have to lose?
Yeah, right.
I mean, we're an amazing community of people. We go on awesome retreats, and the weekly calls are just everything to me. I do not miss my weekly call, and the one-on-one sessions with you are just totally epic. I mean, and they're recorded, so I can always go back if there's something that we worked on specifically.
Yep.
I can get it again and kind of get like it even a deeper again.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So in conclusion, if I think about where you were when I met you a couple years ago and where you are now, if you didn't do these last 2 years, where do you think you would be right now? You wouldn't have met, obviously, this gentleman, but where do you think you would have been if you didn't do this work these last 2 years?
I don't know. It's wild to think of having not met him because of how just important he's been in my life when we've been together and when we've not been together. Yeah, I don't know where I'd be if I had been doing all this work for 2 years. I don't think it would have been a great place. I mean, if my life continued on from the place I had been living it all the way up until a couple years ago, I mean, it was just a life not worth living. I mean, I've just dealt with a lot of suicidal ideation and not wanting to live anymore. And trying to live when you don't want to live is a very difficult way to try to live. It's not fulfilling. It's not, exciting. It's not easy to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been a great place.
Yeah. And not that this is fantasy. This is truly dreaming, truly what's possible now, because you've done this work for 2 years, even though we don't know what's going to happen. He arrives on Saturday, but what is truly possible that's never been possible before? Like, what are you willing to have, willing to receive, willing to experience?
I mean, I want just a really great relationship that's very healthful and supportive and fun and loving and just mutually caring and respectful, and just has a lot of the connection and communication and that divine sacred sexual union where we're just sending each other off into orbits and cosmos and galaxies with just us being together.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking forward to. And I believe that's all possible now. I mean, I just in the past I've just struggled through relationship and struggled through just barely trying to make it somewhat habitable and somewhat happy and somewhat fulfilling. And I just believe that there's like a whole nother level that's out there now that is possible and attainable. And I'm calling that in.
I'm having that, baby. Yeah. Yeah. And you're doing the work to pay this forward as your next incredible career. And I really respect that. I mean, there's obviously flying helicopters is great, and you can cook me a gourmet meal anytime you want. And there's something, at least this is my profession. So of course I feel, more connected to this. But when you've gone through hell and you've gotten to heaven, human, still human, and then you can pay that forward and you can watch others heal, there is a fulfillment unlike anything I've ever experienced. So I'm so glad that's the direction you're heading in. And I'm here, I got your back. And I see everything that you see, and the gift that you are in this community and will be the more you grow. So thank you, sweetie. Thank you for sharing your journey with everyone here. And for those of you watching, I want you to know that this woman is brave. It takes bravery. This woman is humble. She's willing to look in the shadows. This woman is willing to show up and be transparent in community. This woman is, let's go. She's willing to be more in her feminine and surrender and let go. And she's also willing to be an adult and show up and claim her worth and put her stake in the ground. Like, I just so respect all these qualities that you are, that allows for this work to work, allows me to partner with you on the highest, and allows you to be such a humongous contribution to our community and be so alluring to this gentleman that I hope also does the work to honor the shit out of you. So if these are qualities that you have and you want to do the work and this feels in resonance to you, I really encourage you to book a call with me, as Amanda did. And we'll put this in the show notes. So basically it's allanapratt.com/connect. And this is how we can really have a conversation. Am I the fit? Is this the community? Is this the work? And you will know as soon as we have this conversation together. And for me, thank you for the honor of loving you, honey. I adore you forever and ever and ever. And I respect you deeply. And I'm so happy for you. And may this get better and better and better. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So thank you all for being with us. And I look forward to another delicious episode of Intimate Conversations. All my love. See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. This time yesterday morning, I was saying goodbye to my VIP client who did a PSI weekend with me. He's a coach and serves many, and I believe will serve many, many more when he writes his book and shows up more. And yet, just like me, for a different reason, a different upbringing, a different program, but still the same as me, I was unable to receive is a better word, receive my king. Because my program was like, oh hell no, we look for wounded kings. We look for wounded kings so we can save them, so they'll love us and they won't hurt us. His program was different around the feminine, mine was around the masculine. But it fucking fell. And he worked really hard, and so did I. And it's such a privilege to be able to work with people who are up to their purpose, up to their mission, up to doing their own inner work for their own joy, their own abundance, their own love, their own health and well-being, but also to pay it forward. And that's what's one of the things that's so wonderful about the podcast you just watched with Amanda, is that she's in her training with psychedelic medicine. She's, gone through such healing of her trauma that allowed her to leave an unhealthy marriage, that allowed her to engage in healthier practices with the man that she's dating. And we'll see if he does the work and she continues to do the work and where that all goes. Because the only way through is through, people. The only way to have our relationships work is to address the trauma that we endured before, integrate it, not be grateful in the mind for it, but be integrated with the lesson and the wisdom that difficult time provided, so that we would grow, so that we would evolve, so that we'd be able to stay present and not abort or, be all anxious and avoidant or be all attached. Just be present, because we have secure attachment within ourselves. That's what the deep work that I have the honor and privilege of facilitating does. And I so respect Amanda. She does the work, that woman. She friggin' does the work. She doesn't give up. She's deeply committed. She hasn't come this far to settle. She's deeply committed to an epic relationship and being able to pay it forward and starting a whole new career. I mean, the woman's so accomplished. And now she wants to use her accomplishments and develop more of them to serve people. I'm so inspired by her. So if you are like her or like my past VIP client, if you're a coach, I gotta tell you, it's the hardest to ask for help when you know better. You can see yourself doing the fucked up behavior. You can see the sabotaging behaviors. You can see that you're attracted to that same person. You know you're doing something unhealthy and you still do it. And you can even help all your clients heal this, but it's still running your show. And it's humiliating, and it's infuriating, and it's annoying, and it's frustrating, and it's real. And it's still happening. I get it. I get it. I get it. I invite you to say, I am willing to be brave enough and humble enough and ask for help and surrender and do the work to integrate these programs that repel healthy love. And I encourage you to call me now. Connect with me now. Let's talk about this now. Because I swear, as soon as the program falls, like it has for me doing the work with my facilitators, asking for help, and this VIP client, and Amanda, who you just watched on the podcast doing the work, when these programs fall, we can actually receive, not just meet, not just attract, not just date, receive our king, our queen, our ideal partner. And then to me, it's like just the beginning of a whole new phase. It's just the beginning of a whole new phase of being they awakening you, you awakening them, more for the universe. It's good shit. I'm so passionate about it. So connect with me, allanapratt.com/connect, because the work works. You just gotta show up. I gotcha. And I love you. Thank you for being with us on yet another episode of Intimate Conversations, Soul Medicine. Thank you for allowing me to love this shit out of you.